So here's what I hope is going on in your life right now. You're largely in control of your money, but you've been listening to this podcast for a while and you can see there's a bit of room for improvement. So yes, you've decided it's time to talk to a financial advisor. Hooray! We're all very glad to hear it, but that is just the first step. This episode of Money and a Good Life, we're helping you choose the right financial advisor for you. Your money is important. You work hard for it, and if you're going to take advice on what to do with that money, you're going to want to trust the person who's giving you that advice. My name's Stephanie Coombs, and I'm here with two people who are going to help you with that decision. Of course, one of them is my co-host, Ryan Watson. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Steph. How are you? I must admit, I'm excited for this one today.
Oh, are you?
I am indeed.
Is it because of our guest, the other person who is in the room with us today, Matt Hale, a financial planner with Rising Tide Financial Services. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Good morning, Steph. Good morning, Ryan. What a pleasure to be here.
And you two know each other.
We know each other. We've known each other for a long time. Our paths have crossed among many parts of the journey.
Oh, I was trying to think how far, Matt. It might be like 16 or 17 years.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you've grown and matured into the financial planning tycoons you both are today.
Let's go with that. Thanks, Steph.
Now, Matt, first of all, tell us a bit about how you got into financial planning.
Yeah, I really fell into financial planning, to be honest. I was at uni at the time and then ended up in a really small financial planning business. Knew I wanted to do something that was related to people. And as soon as I started to do it, it resonated on a few different levels. Being able to impact people's lives and then also reflecting on what my family didn't have when it came to good financial advice.
Yeah, right. So on that topic, good financial advice, what makes a financial advisor good and what might make a financial advisor a little bit less good, maybe?
I would always break both the good and the bad into two areas, science and art. From the art perspective is how they create rapport, how they listen, and more than anything, how they make you feel when talking about your money. On the science side of things, that's a little bit more around choice that the financial planner's made. Where they work, the type of clients they choose to work with, the type of clients they choose not to work with, and their overall experience. It's a pretty broad subject.
Yeah. Would you also couple as well, Matt, the art piece, and I do like your analogy around that in terms of the values and, you know, that advisor that genuinely puts their clients first. They don't need rules and regulations to do that. It's just innate in them.
Yeah, one of the things that I wrote down about what makes a really good financial planner is that they don't take things personally if you aren't able to understand what they're saying. You know, everyone's experience with money is different. And I think that if they take it personally, they make you feel bad, then I would say that they're not great at creating rapport and they're probably not putting anyone other than themselves first. Bit of ego.
What I'm also hearing, Matt, like people first, right? Then advice.
Absolutely. It's really interesting. One of the things that we've worked really hard on is try to get the right people, but also I would say anytime you're going to have a good financial planner, they need to fall under the guise of really strong philosophies inside a good business. So if you think about how it cascades down, I don't think you can have a really good financial planner without a great business, and I don't think you can have a great business without really good financial planners.
One of the other things you said before, Matt, is it's the clients they choose to work with. What do you mean by that?
So I think it's really important that financial planners can scope in and scope out who they work with, and that may be their demographic, that might be their psychographic, that might be their interests. But one of the things I would always say is when you're talking to a financial planner, ask them who they love working with and why, and also ask them who they don't love working with, or maybe more politically correct, who they choose not to work with.
Yeah, right. And if you've got a financial advisor and they're smoking a cigarette and they tell you to put it all on red, probably don't go to them either.
Depends if they win.
That's probably more a risk profile conversation, isn't it, Matt? But
50-50, I don't hate those odds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's probably not the person you choose to get your advice from, Steph, I reckon.
Well, you know, just putting it out there. And while we're on the topic of choosing who to work with, can anyone call themselves a financial advisor or a financial planner, or do you need to have specific qualifications?
Yeah, it's good. Over the last few years, we've gone through a lot of change where they've significantly increased the education standards. and basically enshrine the designation to call yourself a financial planner or a financial advisor. So what that's actually meant is we've lost, Matt, about 40% of the advisors in the industry. So about 13 or 14,000 advisors have left because of those education standards. So we're in a little bit of this state of flux at the moment where we need to educate and bring people through university and then the postgrad space so we can start to build the industry up again. So at the moment, there's a dearth of good advisors and there's never been more clients who are wanting financial planning help.
And this morning I actually had a look at how I would best find out a good financial planner, and I just Googled Money Smart Financial Planner Register, and it came up with everything that I needed to find out that I was a legitimate financial planner. It's a really good place to start, and it basically ticks off. It gives you a history of the licensees that people have been with, their qualifications, but the main thing to your first point, Steph, was that if they're on that list, they are legit.
Further to that as well, Steph, what we often find is that people seek a referral from family and friends or professionals that they have. So that might be an accountant or estate planner and stuff like that as well. So seeking a referral and then doing your own research as well, you generally find a good combination off the back of that.
Some referrals are bad referrals though. Like, I had a friend who told me that Waterworld was a really good movie. And it's like,
are you still friends?
No, it's a terrible film, and it made me question the whole thing. So, referrals definitely a good starting point, and then after that, you can then do some more research. But
we always ask what the referrer has said about us, because I think that's a really good way to understand. To your point, if you like really crap movies, then that would have been a wonderful referral, but For us, we always like to know why someone has referred us, and it often falls down into that art piece or the science. Hey, look, the rapport that I created with one of the guys at Rising Tide was unbelievable. Or, look, they really specialised in this, or they helped me nail a transaction in my life or a period of time, and I think that gives you a really good understanding.
So let's go through some of the green flags that you can see. What's a green flag? You're talking to someone, you think that the financial advice that you're going to get from this person is good. How are you certain? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I like to go off the think, feel, know principle. So thinking, Matt's talked about qualifications, what are their values like, social proof as well. So in terms of reviews from clients and the like, they've put together content, podcasts, ebooks and the like. That works pretty well as well. So I like to start there and, trust your judgment. Are you building up enough research around whether this is someone you could trust and, go on a financial journey with?
Are those your green flags as well?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a big one for being able to deal with the business first and foremost, because then I also think about you able to have a conversation with the business around who might be a really good fit for you from that business. And then really simply, I remember growing up when I got told I've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, listen twice as much as you speak. And I think that's a really fundamental thing that can help people to feel calm, give them the opportunity, the space, the silence to take away that, money can be really hard to talk about.
Yeah, and if they're listening and they're interested in what your problems are, they're probably going to be better at trying to solve them. Whereas if you're getting the spiel but they're not hearing what you have to say, I feel like that's probably a bit of a bad sign.
One of the key qualities, you want your advisor to listen to understand, not to respond.
Yeah. Well, let's then go through what are some of the red flags. I think probably talking more than listening. I think that's a good red flag there. What are some other signs that it might not be a good fit for you?
This might sound silly, Steph, but red flag for me is when you look up someone's website, it's either non-existent, doesn't work well, or their About Us page doesn't have anything about the individuals who work in the business. Money's personal. Money's about trust. You want to create a relationship with a person or like a Tribeca or a tribe, right? So I really want that transparency. When I go to About Us, it just gives me a couple of blurbs about some sort of business, could be any, but I don't know who works there. It doesn't give me a look and a feel. Might sound simple, but that's a red flag for me.
What about you?
Yeah, I would agree. I think one of the things that I wouldn't put too much credence on is when people can reel off case studies. It's a little bit like a resume. You're not going to ask references that are poor. So I would then start to ask them a little bit more about the average person that they work with or someone that they've recently worked with that's not scripted.
Yeah, and ask a few questions. Is it like a job interview? Do you think? Are you interviewing them for the job if you're in the position, or is it a bit more of a conversation, do you reckon?
I'm really fortunate that I do all of the intro calls at Rising Tide, and I'm really transparent about this. I say there's got to be three things that work when you meet a financial planner. One, you like the way that they look, feel, the website, all that sort of stuff, LinkedIn. But then secondly, they've got to be able to know that they can help you and articulate that reasonably succinctly, but also they've got to like you. I firmly believe that, like Ryan said, money is personal, it's emotional. And so you're not going to get the best out of a financial planner if they don't really connect with you. When they're sitting belly to belly with you and it doesn't feel right.
So, and I think in part, Steph, there is a bit of an interview process and you want to delve and you want to probe. And I love Matt's point around asking the advisor about knowing who they serve, because there is that old adage in the profession, right, Matt? If you try and serve everyone, you'll end up serving nobody. So, and those people who in their business are very wide, it's the ones that are more narrow and deep. They understand that profile or that avatar of who they serve, and then they tend to serve them really well because they become experts.
Do you guys turn down clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we say we turn down clients, we've obviously got, fiduciary responsibility. If we identify, see that a client's in need, if we can't serve them, we refer them to somebody else. But we're really specific about, we know how we can help people, both in a qualitative and quantitative sense. And if they're not for us, we make sure that we introduce them to the right place. So some people might be too early on their journey and they might need more of just specific money coaching that's not technically financial advice. We have a number of people we refer to in that space as well. And it's interesting, Matt and I go way back and we're very good friends first and foremost, but as professionals, we will refer to each other as well, clients that don't fit into the ideal clients that we serve.
It's been an incredible journey in our business, liberating to some extent. But the way I think about it for businesses, it's a bit like if you drive a European car, you only want to go to someone who services European cars. And equally, that garage only wants to service European cars. So to try to take any Mitsubishi Magna off the street, it's not going to work well for everyone. And for us over the past 2 or 3 years, we've been brutal in who we don't work with. And the irony is that that's made it really easy for everyone in our communication, in the conversations we're having.
And fair to say, Matt, and prospective clients really respect that. And so we don't think you're right, but if you can, for want of a better term, put them in the right home or send them off with the right referral, they're actually really thankful for that transparency.
That's been a really key theme, and it actually empowers you to do it more. And there's been a few times where you want to help people. That fiduciary requirement is overlaid by people in financial planning generally want to help.
Great call.
So it's to have a really clear structure and decision tree around, for us as well, the science and the art. Do we love them? Can we engage with them? Do they make us feel good when we're talking to them? But then also, can we help? And if we can't help in a wonderful, life-changing way, then we'll find someone who can.
Yeah, because there is an interesting phenomenon in advice, Steph, and it generally happens when people are starting out in the profession or building their own business. They want to help everyone, so they take a file on, they take the client on, but invariably they can't demonstrate enough value or potentially not charge enough. So they have to try and engage that next client. Then that file sits on the desk and then it becomes a negative snowball. Whereas if you're really clear on who you serve, you're confident and you build up that network, and then like attracts like. So the ideal client invariably attracts the ideal client because they've had a really good client experience, they've seen a lot of value, and they're having that barbecue discussion. They're probably referring to Matt on a Monday morning.
Yeah, that's a good point, because, people hang around with people who are like them. And it also makes business easy if you like working with your clients. That's the other thing. Like if you're enjoying the conversations and they're enjoying, you can't actually fake that.
And if I think, Steph, to some of the most rewarding relationships that we have with our clients at Tribeca and the advisors talking about it, it's a great client experience, demonstrate a lot of value. And I don't mind saying there's profitability in that client. So good profitability in a client means that we can build our tribe and we can serve more people. So we never shy away from that either. You literally see the smile from the advisor and their associate when they walk out. It's really enjoyable. They're really loving the work, which as a CEO, I love to see as well.
And if you're making money, they're also coming back because their money situation is improving or their life situation is improving.
You want that stability in a business. Like Matt said, great business.
So what are some of the questions that you should be asking your financial advisor nice and early in the relationship to work out if you've got the right vibe and you could probably work together?
Firstly, before there's any questions that I ask as a client, I would be hoping that the advisor or the business is probing. they will have should have a much better idea of who they will work well with. So in our business, that would be everything from when you go to book in on the website, the questions, your income, do you have kids, how long are your kids going to be at home, are you a previously separated woman, all these bits and pieces that there's a decision tree going on in the background that by the time you get to chat with me or someone else, that they have a really good idea of the bare bones of whether you could work with them. And from then, I would be asking, well, why do you think you can work well with me as the client? Or have you got any experience with someone that's got a similar circumstance? I've got 2 young kids that are going to be at home for a while, or I work in financial services. Do you know about this? My friends have been talking about these issues that we're going to consistently have. Do you have experience with them?
Echoing what Matt said as well, really probing them around how do they help their clients uncover their short, medium and long-term goals? How do they build financial strategy off the back of it? It might be a bit of an abstract question, Steph, but why did said advisor get into financial planning? What makes them tick? So things that we're uncovering on this podcast is when people are talking about why they got into financial advice. They're good humans. They want to help other humans. There might be a related story back to their family and whether they grew up with money or they didn't. So they want to create a better life for themselves as well. I think if you create that human connection, everything can flow on from there. Just one more, Steph. I think a question that when I first got asked it absolutely made me take a step back. A prospective client asked me, how do I measure success when it comes to financial planning? And
good one.
And to give you some context where our belief is, at Rising Tide, we believe that success with financial planning means that the gap between what happens and what we've discussed that may potentially happen is smaller. Doesn't mean that we have a crystal ball, but it means those conversations that you should be having, should be discussing, should be preparing for, it just starts to reduce the gap between your goals and what actually happens.
When you're having these initial conversations, is this usually a free consultation? I know it might change from company to company.
Yeah, no, we don't charge. So the way we work at Tribeca, we invest about half an hour. It's called a get to know you phone call. And we've got, a series of questions that are structured through conversation just to get an understanding of the client. And, the context that we give for that prospect is we just need to understand whether we can work really well with you and serve you, and asking them very much to do the same. Then beyond that, if we think we can serve them, we'll book in a discovery appointment, which is an hour and a half. And we generally don't charge for that either. That's generally complimentary. Noting that a lot of the referrals that we do get are from existing clients or the professional networks that we've built as well. So we see that that's a complimentary service to the clients they're servicing too.
And is that how you work as well?
Similar. Probably the common theme is that we treat referrals differently to how we treat people that have organically come through the website, but similar. The only difference, we do charge for our discovery session. What we've found that the buy-in philosophically, but also from a dollars point of view, means that we've started to bring forward some value earlier. But 15-minute, half an hour phone call early is absolutely, I think that'd be nearly par for the course.
It would be. And what we've found is that doing that as quickly as we can, Steph, as soon as we get the inquiry, because we know life happens and personal admin packs up. So someone's inspiration or energy to do something on a Monday, if they're not having that call till a Thursday, it does make it hard. From our point of view, it is how do we do it here and now, and how do we maintain that momentum that prospect has built for themselves?
Once every, 6 months, I have the urge to do life admin.
A wave of inspiration.
A wave of inspiration. But we've got 2 hours. Yeah. And then it's gone.
Got to capitalise.
So it's like I've got to reorder my bank cards because I've lost them. Mm-hmm. Or I've got to.
Did you sort that out in the end?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That's a lie. No. I lose my bank cards and I just tap on, tap off for everything. And because I hate administration. So if you don't get me when I'm in that very narrow window of wanting to do something, yeah.
We obviously always respond to people within that 24-hour window and then want to speak with them as soon as we can because, we know that the glow wears off and life happens, no judgment.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I like about this podcast is no judgment. I tell all my bad decisions and, a flash of anxiety goes across your eyes and then I just don't get dragged for it.
And I mean this, Steph, at the end that we're all human, right? We do a bit of money, but we're all human.
Some of us more functioning than others.
I can see Matt smiling at me over there for some reason, but that's okay.
Hey, Steph, just one other thing we haven't covered yet, and I'm not sure if we will, but the question around how businesses engage or financial planners engage with their clients, I think there's a really distinct difference now, whether that be face-to-face, whether that be hybrid, whether that be fully online? I think that's a question that if I was sitting down with a prospective financial planner, that would be something that I would absolutely want to know, because we do find that people have really clear beliefs and preferences.
Yeah, and generally one camp or the other?
Yeah.
In terms of all online or all face-to-face, or how do you find?
Look, we're all online.
Yeah.
We do more of the social stuff, getting to know people, face-to-face, but all of our advice is online now. And part of that is from a compliance point of view. If it's recorded, there's no disparity. So for us, we've really taken that on board. But yeah, it's not how everyone wants to deal with it. We certainly like it that we can have couples that one's on the train on the way home, one's at home with the kids, one's at work, one's trying to find their hotel key. But certainly other people want to be face-to-face with their advisor and they won't budge on that.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? I guess that some people just need that face-to-face interaction in order to feel like it's serious sit down.
Definitely.
Good to get that nice and early rather than having a long conversation and then finding out at the last that it's not going to be a face-to-face discussion. When you're going into a financial advising situation, can there be a good client and a good financial advisor but just a bad personality match?
I don't believe you can have an absolutely flourishing relationship between an advisor and a client if there's not at least a good connection.
It's a bit like dating.
It is a little bit like dating. And it's funny in terms of, we center everything we do, like Matt would, around trust. So the trust equation, capability, reliability, intimacy over self-interest. So if you've built a bond around trust, you can still have opposites attract in a financial advice relationship. You might have an advisor that's really high patience and high detail and a client that's maybe got dominance and they're more the extrovert, but they can work really well together. The bedrock has to be trust.
That's very funny. Maybe we should do, business idea, Tinder, but for financial advisors.
Finder.
Finder. Fine, I think that exists.
I think that's already taken.
Yes. We'll workshop it later.
Two eyes.
Yeah, no one take it. Trademark. When should you reassess whether the relationship you have with a financial advisor is working? Because I think you should probably, like every good relationship, have a check-in occasionally and see if it's working.
There is an automatic junction built in, Matt, isn't there, every 12 months in terms of, so for an ongoing financial advice client, there's an opt-in or an ongoing service agreement, so a client will sign on every 12 months. But even more than that, are you still getting value from the relationship? When you walked or went into the relationship, how you define value from a qualitative sense and from a quantitative sense, and you're still getting that. And if it's not feeling right, then don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but ask questions and engage with the advisor and express the way you're feeling and what's not currently working for you.
Steph, you spoke about it being like a relationship, and I firmly agree. I actually think that it's incumbent on both sides to be challenging that value. We spoke just a moment about there's got to be trust, there's got to be connection. If that's dissipating, then I think it can easily be fixed or communicated or worked through on both sides. But I think from a financial planning business point of view, that should be a really big part of the review process. Treating every interaction with their client to make sure that the client's getting the best out of it, but also that you are as well.
Yeah. And I know something that we've focused on, Matt, at Tribeca, we've got one of our values is empathy. So we know that life happens for people and they can change their motivations. So from time to time, if clients do stop engaging, change the medium, change the way you do it, lighten it up in order to continue to bring people along on the journey. We certainly don't give up on clients, when life happens or, there's a bit of radio silence.
I actually think it's good where the industry's heading, that there's a bit more flexibility. That was one of the issues off the back of the Royal Commission, where things had to happen around certain time frames, had to be signed off here, there, and life does get in the way. But we're certainly starting to get a bit of a whiff that there might be a bit more flexibility as time goes by around how those ongoing agreements can be a little less structured in terms of it has to be signed today. Otherwise, you're disengaged and all the funds have got to be refunded. We've got to go back to the start.
Well, you would have heard it from your clients too. Like we talk about personal admin, but the amount of, if it's a sick child or a sick parent or a death in the family, or I've had to go home from the UK, I could reel off a list of reasons, Steph, not excuses of stuff that's happening in a client's life. So there has to be that flexibility around that.
So after 12 months, check in and see if it's working. But are there signs that you might find that you have a financial advisor who's maybe not giving you the right or the best advice? And then when do you make a call? Do you give it a year? Do you give it 2 years? Or do you even go earlier than that if you're a bit worried?
For me, again, I would start simple. Are your phone calls being returned on the same day? Are your emails basically being returned on the same day or within 24 hours? What is the communication like? And that's really reactive, right? More on a proactive sense, are you getting the value? Are you being brought along on the journey? Is there continued education? When you started in the relationship and you got a statement of advice, reflect on that, and is what they said in that advice being delivered, on a monthly or quarterly or half-yearly basis? That's really the place that you started. And I'd refer to that. It's like for us at Tribeca with our business strategy, that's the Bible. That's the goal, the strategy and the tactics in terms of what we're doing. All roads leads back. If I'm a client, I'm doing the same with a statement of advice.
Steph, I would implore clients that if they're feeling that maybe the value is not there, first port of call would be to articulate to their advisor what their expectations are, because there can be a lot of assumptions that are built in, particularly at the start of an advice relationship. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of sugar hits. Things are changing. It feels great, but there may not have been that explicit conversation around, hey, this is what I expect. And what you might then find is that there's a way to, sometimes people might be on the base package, but they're expecting the top tier service, or the vice versa.
And a common one, Matt, is around clients will generally pay a retainer, Steph, on a monthly basis. Some clients then have the expectation that there's something every month. There's a proactive or there's a quantitative every month. That's generally not aligned in terms of how financial advisors work.
Would you say, Watto, that it's probably more that clients pay an annual fee, but it just happens to be drip fed monthly?
Yeah, it's a bit like dollar cost averaging when it comes to investing. It makes it's better for cash flow, makes it more palatable for a client.
You've also got to manage the client's expectations as well, because if they come in and they're like, well, I want my money to double in 12 months' time,
that's an advisor red flag.
Yeah,
with a client.
right.
That's an advisor red flag.
So
maybe that could be the next episode.
That. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, can it?
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
Can we double our money?
No.
Put it all in black. Okay. That's my podcast. I've got a separate one, with a dart out there. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Matt, and I hope that this episode gave you a head start on your decision-making process. We're so glad that we've been able to advise you on advisors, and thanks for listening. If you're enjoying these episodes, we're enjoying having you along for the ride, and just remember to follow this podcast so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time. Advice given in this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to influence decisions about investing or financial products. Our listeners should always seek their own professional advice that considers their own personal circumstances before making any financial decisions.